What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Big Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Robertson, I'm your host. It's time for some divisional round best bets. By the way,
why is the right side of your face all red?
Because I took a nap. Well, you're such a narc. You're such a narc. You're worse than Brady. Brady's calling me out for my stomach issues. You're calling me out for my naps.
I mean, what grown man takes a nap at noon?
Noon? Why? What grown man doesn't take a nap at noon?
I know I couldn't.
You can't. You don't nap?
I can't sleep. I have sleep issues.
Oh man, I love a nap. RJ, you nap?
No, I mean some of us are like working all day, Monday through Friday. You know.
Oh come on, let's get out of here.
Do you nap on Saturday, RJ?
No, I mean
I nap on Sundays.
Yeah, I typically would just. My sleep patterns would be when I was a little bit younger, just go to sleep at whatever time, wake up, never wake up throughout the night. Now I kind of like maybe sleep a little bit toward the end of the night and then get a full sleep in, but typically not napping during the day. No.
Jamie Eisenberg has been caught napping in the green room before.
I heard Jamie's napped on set of FFT before.
No, he's napped in the green room though a couple times.
Well,
I've caught him.
That's a no-no. What? How was your appearance on FFT? Dave Richard, Hall of Famer. Congratulations, Dave.
Yeah, I actually showed up with some different cheeses in honor of when Dave ate the calzone in the green room and uttered under his breath, cheese. It was a Hall of Fame moment. He denies it to this day, but he did it.
That checks out. I believe that. I showed up very, very briefly and told a story about how I wore a dress at the office at CBS.
I remember that.
In fact, today would be an HR violation. I should really retroactively file one against Dave and Jamie.
By the way, I told Dave that he might be one of the 5 nicest human beings I've ever met in this business. Dave Richard is so nice.
You know what? I'm sure
he took that. By the way,
I mean, he took it as a compliment. That's an insult coming from you.
No, he really is. It's almost. I mean, he's too nice sometimes.
He's
a kid as nice as can be. He really is.
And I am happy for Dave. I think it's awesome. He's a Hall of Famer. Next up, we're getting you in the Hall of Fame, Pete. Then we'll work on Fred Taylor.
Yeah, not in that order, by the way. No, I'm kidding.
What's good for me is good for me.
RJ knows. He knows. By the way, next up in the Fantasy Football Hall of Fame, the hot dog vendor down the street. I'm kidding. That's a running joke we have with Jamie Eisenberg and Dave that, the start of the week could come from the hot dog vendor and have a better percentage.
I mean, yeah, Jamie, if what we were doing the show is like, I was like, yeah, I really think Jarrett was like, I said somebody, I was like, Isaiah Pacheco is going to go off. You're like, just FYI, he's Jamie started the week. He got like 2 carries, fumbled and benched. I mean, it's unbelievable. All right, let's get to the best bets. I got mine somewhere. This is driving me nuts. I don't know where they are. Whatever. We'll figure it out. You guys, I went 4-3 last week. It's about 500. That is not how y'all did combined. 7-1 combined. Pete 4-0 with his best bets. No show the podcast. No show the show.
Maybe I should not show up all year. Just put my picks in.
RJ 3-1. Nice
I call myself Playoff Petey instead of Playoff Lenny. I'm Playoff Petey.
I like it. I went 5-1 straight up. I mean, that didn't really matter, but like I had the underdog parlay I gave out didn't hit because Tampa Bay, and the 6-game parlay I gave out did not hit because of Tampa Bay. Thanks a lot, Tom Brady. Thanks for nothing. RJ, feeling good about the playoffs right now?
Yeah. In what sense? For the Bills or just in general?
No, just I mean, you go 3-1. You're feeling good about it.
Yeah, felt good. I ended up being dumb throwing Tampa Bay in that teaser. It felt like a clear teaser spot for them, but they completely no-showed. And it turns out Tampa Bay is not a very good team to be able to get routed like that by Dallas. So big changes coming there this offseason, we assume, especially with them. Should have been dominating the division. I know we all thought they were going to run away with the division, and it turned into a fight at the end because they were just as bad as everyone else in the division. So we'll see what happens with them. But other than that, felt pretty good about how things went. The Jaguars pick looked terrible for a half, and then Chargers did their thing, and all of a sudden we get that cover and win.
Pete, 4-0, buddy.
Yeah, and by the way, I also would have probably put in a couple overs if I hadn't, which would have been pretty good too.
I was at 5-6, I believe, in the wild card weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
should have been. I guess
it should have been 6-6.
Yeah, but Tom Brady stinks. As you know what, Tom Brady doesn't stink. I don't think Tom Brady's. I know he didn't look great at a lot of that stretch. Byron Leftwich. Ugh.
Well, their offense is outdated.
Yep.
It's the Bruce Arians holdover offense, and it's outdated. And their offensive line stinks. Let's be real too. It's hard to throw when your team stinks.
Could not agree with you more. Let's get to the games for this weekend, and we start. Unbelievable. The Jacksonville Jaguars, my Jacksonville Jaguars, Pete's Jacksonville Jaguars, heading to Kansas City, where the Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites with a robust total of 52.5. We're picking it at 8.5 and 53. I've seen 9 out there as well. Pete. Oh, wait. Shout out to Aunt Susan, Uncle Rick, Jaguars fans, longtime Jaguars fans. My grandfather was one of the original Jaguar season ticket holders, and his daughter Susan, her husband Rick, big Jaguars fans, season ticket holders. They're going to Kansas City. Pete, where's
those the ones that is that the relatives that used to curse me out when I covered the team?
Oh, that's all of my relatives.
Yeah, I figured so. Look.
Oh, Wilson. Can somebody ask Prisco how he did against the spread versus all CBS Sports experts, both this year and I don't know, last year too? Thanks.
You know what I got to say to him? Malik Willis and Mac Jones say hello.
Ouch, Wilson. Wilson, how about Wilson chirping about who's he chirping to? He's like, maybe they should have drafted Mac Jones. Like immediately Trevor Lawrence goes nuts in the second half.
Jacksonville Jaguars winning last week is always, and RJ knows this, what's good for me is good for me. He said it. That means I get one more week of doing my radio show with Tony Baselli, which means more for me. So that's a good thing.
No, it's like when the Panthers are really good, like people are like blowing me up, like, hey, you know the Panthers. I'm like, sure, whatever. But you are like probably involved with the Jaguars. So when the Jaguars are good, more Petey.
But I think this will be that show Monday was the last show for me because I don't think they're beating the Chiefs. I just don't. But I do think they're going to hang around. I think offensively they're going to score points. I think this Chiefs defense has major issues. You block Chris Jones, you're going to score. Period. End of story. So I know it's a big thing to do, but if you block them, you'll score. So I think Jacksonville will score points. I think they'll hang around in the game, and but I do think the Chiefs will win. So I'll take the Jaguars and the over as two of my best bets in this game.
Well, I'm going to trump you, Pete, because I have 2.5 picks for this game. I have a best bet
and a teaser.
That's the half.
I know. I have a teaser too. I'm just jumping in. I'm jumping in before you accuse me of copying you.
So the first one is Kansas City minus 8.5. I'm on the other side of Pete here. Jackson was very lucky to advance after that -5 turnover margin, but Chargers going to charge her, like we said earlier. Kansas City dominated Jacksonville that first meeting back in Week 10, 486 yards to 315. They won that game by 10 points despite 2 lost fumbles and a -3 turnover margin. So if Jacksonville's getting a +3 turnover margin in that game and still losing by 10, I don't know how, what do they need to do +5 to compete in this game? Jacksonville's defense, 22nd in pass yards per play, 29th on third down, and 24th in red zone. I think Kansas City's going to score a ton. Talk about if Jacksonville can block Chris Jones, Jacksonville will score. I mean, Kansas City's going to score whatever they need to in this game. Chiefs defense, only 25th in interception rate, but the way Trevor Lawrence has played, especially in the first half of the last few weeks, he's going to create them anyway, it seems like. So I think Jacksonville needs Mahomes to commit bad turnovers to stay in this, which is not out of the question. I mean, he let the Denver back in the game that a few weeks back. They were close on Houston, so it's not like they're putting away these bad teams anyway down the stretch. So it is possible. But my power ratings put this at Chiefs minus 10.5. I'd play it up to 9.5. So I like Kansas City as an 8.5 best bet. I also like the over 9.5 points in the first quarter, but it's minus 135, so I didn't want to make it a best bet, but I do like that play. My other best bet is Mahomes over 2.5 passing touchdowns. He has 3+ pass touchdowns in 7 of his 11 playoff games, including all 3 last year. And I think Jacksonville's defense, in terms of defending the pass, is on the lower end of that spectrum in terms of quality, in terms of the teams that he's matched up with in the playoffs. And then again, the teaser, it's the obvious teaser of the week, Kansas City and Philadelphia. Yep. Throwing Kansas City in there minus 2.5 is the first leg.
How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much does it concern you that I had, and I swear I said my best ability. It's driving me nuts now. I had that. The teaser was, it's so obvious. Does that
no, it's obvious because it's the way you should be playing it. And then I'm sure other sharps are completely on that teaser as well. So just because you want to piggyback on the smart people taking it doesn't concern me at all.
By the way, a couple things about, because I went back and watched the tape from the first meeting between the two teams, a couple things about that game. That was before they moved Darius Williams outside, which they've been significantly better against the pass with him outside. He was a disaster on the inside. I don't know why they ever played him there. A. B. Devin Lloyd was a spinning top that day, and he's improved in pass coverage. He's still not great. And they were in a little bit of a slump on the defensive line. Roy Robertson Harris, who's been a beast in the last month of the season, as has Josh Allen. They weren't very good that day. So I think it's a different defense. I'm with you though, RJ. I think the Chiefs are going to score, but I think Jacksonville's going to score as well.
Jacksonville also stole a possession in the game too. Is that
they also had a
onside kick at the
touchdown
beginning
call?
of the game?
They also had a touchdown called back for an illegal man downfield. Had to settle.
Are
for
you
a
still
field
having
goal
something
now.
right now? Because are you hitting something with the pin?
No. They also settled for a field goal after they had a touchdown call back. I mean, look, they got handled the first time around, but this just seems weird to me, and I don't think they're winning the game. But 96, I watched the same scenario play out live. I mean, I watched it. They had no business making the playoffs, made the playoffs, went to Buffalo, fell behind 10-0, knocked Jim Kelly out, won the game. Went to Denver as 16-point dogs and playing with house money and won the game. And people think that was a fluke. It wasn't a fluke. They didn't punt after the first quarter. So I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but I think this team has the same kind of feel of a young team that's starting to believe in itself. And you're right. RJ made a good point. The Chiefs in those games against Denver and Houston, they kept them around in those games.
Yeah, I mean, 8.5 is a lot of points. It's Andy Reid off the bye. Andy Reid off the bye. Andy Reid off the bye. Shout out to our pal Nick Costos. We used to sing that song way back in the day. Oh, young Nick, prime of his life.
He had a good bet last week on the Giants.
Did have a good bet on the Giants.
No, was it the Giants?
No. He's like, I got the bet, the Dolphins. I got a great Bills. I got a great number.
Made a great bet. I got the Bills -9. It wasn't a great bet. You didn't win it.
He's like, great bets aren't win or lost. You can't control what's on the field. It's like, what are you talking about?
You can't control what's on the field. Meanwhile, normally every week we can control what's on the field, but he couldn't in that game.
Just that one game you couldn't control what's on the field, but he got great value. That's all that matters. Anywho, Chiefs -8.5, best bet for me. Chiefs -2.5 and Eagles -1.5, the obvious teaser. I will also take Jerick McKinnon over rush yards, 21.5. And now it's juiced. I don't know. It's -130 or something like that on Caesars. I want to take it because I want to take that bet. RJ, you can take the over first quarter points and add it to your best bets if you want. That's fine with me.
No, I'm fine. I'm trying to stay in that -125 or lower range just to make it kind of close.
Jerick McKinnon rushing yards off.
It's up to you. I mean, we're not worried about you beating us anyway, so I'm just trying to. I don't want Pete to
put whatever you want in. Put whatever you want in.
I'll take the over 8.5 rushing attempts for Jalen Hurts -165. That is currently on there as well. Okay, same as RJ. Over first quarter points. I agree with you. I think it's a good bet. You're not going to take it because it's -130. I, as a honorable person, will abide by the spirit, if nay law, of the podcast, and I will not take over Jerick McKinnon rushing yards 21.5. But I think that is a good bet. That is a really low number. He can rip that off very quickly. The one thing I worry about taking the Chiefs though is like they haven't been good against the spread. The defense does tend to step up late in this. We've seen the defense step up like when they make these Super Bowl runs. I just you sort of wonder like, is there? Do you believe in game to game momentum? Especially in the playoffs. I do.
Hot teams can get hot.
But like the Jaguars' second half can be a little bit of a slingshot for them.
The Bills' defense wasn't very good against Buffalo last year in the playoffs.
You know what? You know what my bold prediction was for this game?
What?
Andy Reid runs the Philly special for a touchdown. Just trolls Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson, if he gets a 3rd and inch, might want to decide he wants to run the ball first before he gets into 4th and inch.
That's not a bad idea. All right, next game on the slate. What a delightful little Saturday afternoon matchup, by the way, with the Chiefs and the Jaguars. Tips off about the same time or kicks off 30 minutes before NC State plays at Carolina. I don't know if you've been following the net ratings, by the way. NC State ahead
Nobody
of
cares
Carolina.
about college basketball until it's
NC
March.
State ahead of Carolina.
It's not March.
The Giants at the Eagles. Eagles -7.5, over under 48, Pete.
Yeah, look, I know the Eagles didn't play. I mean, the Giants didn't play the last game of the season. Obviously, they rested guys, and the Eagles struggled. Jalen Hurts didn't look right in that game. The Eagles blew them out the first time around. I think this is a different Giants team. And my one concern here, major concern here, is the pass rush of the Eagles. I mean, 70 sacks, 4 guys with double digits, first time that's happened. And Evan Neal struggled at right tackle. But I'm a big believer in Dable and Kafka scheming things up for Daniel Jones. Eagles have had problems with quarterbacks who run. And I think that could be an issue here as well. I think the Giants hang around. I don't think they win the game, but I think they hang around. I'll take the Giants plus the 7.5.
I feel like Pete's kind of teasing some of my picks here. I lean to the Giants as well at plus 7.5. Philly rolled in the first meeting behind the run game and pressure on Daniel Jones, like you're talking about, 7 sacks in that game. And then the Giants came back and just got the ball out early with Davis Webb, got sacked twice in that game, and they stayed close. So I think that they can apply that game plan here, get the ball out early to these receivers that aren't going downfield a ton. You want to work over short game, intermediate game with James and Slayton and Hodgins, those guys. So we'll see that type of thing to kind of combat that pass rush, I think. And Philly's offense is top 5 on third down and in the red zone, which the Giants defense is also. But who wins situationally is going to depend on how healthy Hurts is. And if they have to settle for field goals again, like they did in week 18, they're not going to cover this number. So we'll see if Philly's defense, being vulnerable to the run at times this season, lets Dayball pull out a few tricks in the running game that we might not be expecting. And really the way you want to go in this game just kind of depends on your idea of Hurts and Lane Johnson's health. Hurts was not on the practice report at all, so maybe he's just good to go and we don't worry about that week 18 game. But I feel like there's enough there that this game will stay close. Dayball will muddy it up. Favorites in playoff matchups of division rivals are 3-10 against the spread the last 9 years. So that third game, whoever's favored typically doesn't tend to cover because these teams know each other too well. So I would lean to the Giants there. I did not make it a best bet because I am putting the Eagles as part of my teaser. -1.5 just seems so obvious that this is going to be the leg that ends up losing and the Eagles will win by 1 or the Giants will win the game.
What are the Giants won 6 straight against the 1 seed in the playoffs?
I don't know what the stat is there.
Yeah, I think
you buy. I mean, these Giants fans are a little bit outrageous with the whole like feels like 11 and 07. It's like, does it? I don't.
Daniel Jones plays like he played last week. And granted, the Vikings are very good on defense. They're going to be tough to beat. And I got one defense. I mean, Dexter Lawrence just destroyed them last week. And Leonard Williams is good, and Thibodeau can rush. I mean, they got guys who can play.
And none of them played. None of them played in that Week 18 game either. So yeah. I mean, we'll see if Philly has one of the best offensive lines in the league. We'll see if they can handle them. But my other best bet in this game is Daniel Jones over 45.5 rushing yards at -117. Philly's allowed the 4th most rushing yards to quarterbacks this year on far fewer attempts than the other teams in the top 5, allowing about 6.5 yards per carry. Even Davis Webb had 41 yards on 6 carries in week 18. Jones and Taylor combined had 66 on 6 carries in the first game. Even against the awful Minnesota pass defense last week, Daniel Jones had 17 carries, up from 4 the first time they played Minnesota. So I think that's really part of the game plan here, and it's something that should work against the Eagles. So I think he'll run a bunch in this game, get over that 45.5 number.
44.5. It's down to at Caesars. Is that? I mean, I agree with you. I think like Daniel Jones rushing yards is sort of a cheat code right now with the way like Brian Daboll is using him in that offense in that way. They don't have an elite group of receivers. Darius Slayton played really well. The guys that they have out there are stepping up for sure. But he's just going to run. He's just a great runner. And look, Pete, I'm not saying that I don't think you pounded the table for him like in the same way that you have other quarterbacks, but you definitely supported Daniel Jones. Is anybody buying into? Let me rephrase it. I'm not buying into this revisionist history with Dave Gettleman. Like, let's settle down a bit. Everybody's like, oh, Dexter Lawrence and Daniel Jones. It's like he drafted him, he overdrafted him. They look like they're going to be a good picks. But like to say that Dave Gettleman set up this Giants team and he's giggling somewhere watching them win. Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, I know. But you know what, though? It's amazing what great coaching will do for you.
Right. Dave Gettleman hired the other coaches, by the way, the ones who couldn't coach up Daniel Jones. I agree completely. This is a case of incredible coaching. Brian Daboll, man, if you're a Giants fan, like I wouldn't even get too hyped up about like, oh, it feels like 07, like 2011. Like you need to realize that this team is set up potentially for the long haul, and you're going to give Daniel Jones $30 to $35 million per year this offseason. So enjoy that. Sorry, go ahead, Arthur.
Yeah, I was going to say you brought up coaching. I mean, it's not like Sirianni's a bad coach either. He could win Coach of the Year. He should be in the running for Coach of the Year.
Oh
So
no, I'm saying
where
that compared to the other Giants coaches that had Daniel
Yeah,
Jones.
no, but I'm just talking about in some matchups where the Giants are too big of underdogs because they have a big coaching advantage. That's not necessarily the case here. They might have a
Right.
small coaching advantage here, but it's not the reason that I think you should back the Giants. I think they're both
No.
coaching staffs are really good.
I agree.
Agreed. Another prop I like, but I'm not going to take out of the spirit and law of podcast law. Over Miles Sanders rushing yards 66.5. If really hate let me see what his total rushing attempts is. Oh, geez. I mean, CJ, I hate this juice. They don't have any rushing attempts for him, but I think there's a decent chance that with Saquon's injury, with Jalen Hurts' injury, that they try to lean on the traditional running game a little bit more. Obviously, if they need to use Jalen Hurts to run, they will do it because, you have to win the game. But I think if they can get any sort of lead, any comfortable lead, you're going to see a lot less Jalen Hurts run calls. Billy is in the chat saying take anytime Boston Scott touchdown.
Plus 320.
Well, because he scores against the Giants all the time.
Yeah. If you had to pick one, so Boston Scott plus 320, pretty good. I like that. Jalen Hurts minus 103, AJ Brown minus 102, Miles Sanders plus 103 anytime touchdown. I'm going to take AJ Brown anytime touchdown minus 102 is one of my best bets as well. Along with the teaser with the Eagles. I don't think I want to take the Eagles minus 7.5, but I do think they win by double digits. If Jalen Hurts is healthy, it's just a little bit of an unknown.
I like the Sanders one of that group because I think with his injury, you might not want to let him taking hits near the goal line and do some other things for Sanders to get a touchdown there.
Okay. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, the Sunday games, the Sunday slates of the divisional round, the best weekend of football of the year. Next. So the first Sunday game, man, what a great 4 games. Even with sort of bigger spreads. Bills minus 5.5 now. Over under 48.5. This line is creeping up quickly. Pete, is this a byproduct of Buffalo or is this a byproduct of the Bengals offensive line?
I think there's some concern about that Bengals offensive line, obviously, but it wasn't like Buffalo actually got after the quarterback last week against a so-so offensive line as well. I mean, I was disappointed in what I saw from Buffalo's pass rush last week. They got to be better, and they should be better this week. I think Buffalo will be able to do what they want. I think, look, they do good stuff on defense, the Bengals, but Josh Allen, when he gets it going, and I don't even think we sniffed as good as he could have been last week. The interception in the end, the drop touchdown pass in the end zone by Dawson Knox, that game's 21-0. It's over. And they kept him in the game. And so, look, the bad interception, the long throw, that was a terrible decision. The one was off the guy's hands. He should have caught it. So I think they get going again on offense. I think Joe Burrow will have success. He gets the ball out. We know that. He gets the ball out quickly. And so I think he'll move the football as well. I think it's a big T. Higgins game, by the way. I think they're going to do everything they can to take away Chase. I think Higgins is the beneficiary of it. I'll take the Bengals plus the points because I think they keep it close, but I think Buffalo wins the game.
Yeah, I thought the assumption would be these teams are pretty close, so the market would drive it down when it was 4.5, and the opposite has happened. It's gone up. I thinking there is I think it has to be tied to the offensive line issues. Cincinnati looked to control in Week 17 before play stopped, but offensive line's lost 2 starters since. Carmen did well in relief of Jonah Williams last week, but now he's on the road, brutal environment. I don't think it's the same situation at all. So we might see some false starts here. We might see some confusion there. Cincy's offense only had 234 yards against Baltimore, had to get the ball out super early, worried about that pass rush in the offensive line. And they were a half yard from being down 7 in the fourth quarter last week, as we know. In that game, they lost the yards per play battle 4.3 to 5.5, really dominated by Baltimore in terms of per play efficiency and still won the game on that big turnover. Buffalo, that score was close, but they won yards per play 5.9 to 3.3, and that defensive touchdown made it a little more respectable. But Buffalo kind of dominated that game in the scoreboard, in the stats, if not the scoreboard. So I think Buffalo has the personnel to limit Cincy's passing attack. They're 5th against the pass, where Baltimore was 19th. Keep them from getting a lot of yards in this game. Cincy's defense 29th in sack rate. Really just going to come down to me is will Josh Allen make some stupid turnovers like he has recently in some of these games. I think Buffalo has 3 turnovers in 3 straight games, and they had the second most turnovers in the regular season. If Buffalo can avoid that and protect the ball, they're going to win and cover. But even with the O-line injuries, we've seen what Burrow can do with a beat-up not good offensive line last year. He can come out and win this game and just be the play hero ball on his own. So I think Buffalo's going to win by 7-10, but I didn't feel good enough about it to make it a best bet when the line's gotten up to 5.5.
By the way, real quick, it's not like Jackson Carman's replacing Anthony Munoz at left tackle. I mean,
Right.
Jonah Williams hasn't been that good either.
That's a fair point. Man, this one. So I mean, I picked the Bengals to win the Super Bowl before the playoffs started. Yeah, I got a Bengals bet to win the Super Bowl. They had to reset.
You want to take that back?
Yeah, I mean, I want to. I picked the Bengals to win this game and to cover this game for the site. I don't know that I feel that good about it. And it's sort of the line move. It's also just like, man, Buffalo is a really good team. The Bengals are getting screwed here by having to go to Buffalo. I don't know why is this game not on a neutral site. I understand the Bills have more wins than the Bengals, but like they didn't get the opportunity by virtue of like a really great show of class and sportsmanship. They lost the opportunity to try and compete to host this game in Cincinnati and instead have to go back to Buffalo. I don't think the Bills should volunteer to go play it at like Ford Field or anything, but the NFL screwed the Bengals on both sides of this by making them almost have to deal with a coin flip of where they played Baltimore and then no coin flip or no neutral field option with where they played Buffalo. I understand the Bills have more wins than the Bengals. I get it. It's okay. But I mean, I sort of wonder if the chip on the Bengals
you're going on the assumption that they were going to win that game.
They didn't get the opportunity to win the game. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I get it. But if you're going to, I mean, the reason that Kansas City and Buffalo are at a neutral site is why?
Because they have the same number of wins.
Right.
But if I'm just saying that it's. I understand why they didn't play the game. I get
What
it.
you say?
13-4 versus 12-4. They don't have the same number of wins.
They don't have the same amount of wins.
If they would have had the same number of wins, Buffalo would be the number 1 seed.
Oh, they don't. Yeah.
Right.
Why are the Bills getting the chance? They don't have the same number of wins. Yeah, they played one less game. What am I talking about? They have one less win. Why are the Bills? The Bills are getting the opportunity. The Bills are getting an advantage.
The Bills also beat the Chiefs. So if you just, you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying, and like I get it. I get it all.
This game should be at a neutral site, I think. I'm with
right,
you.
yeah. But if Buffalo would have beat Cincinnati, Buffalo would be the number 1 seed. If Cincinnati would have beat Buffalo, Cincinnati would be the number 2 seed. In both those situations, the playoff seeding is different than it is now. You gave an advantage you accounted for one possibility with one team. You did not for the other team. Correct. So I can see why the
game
Bengals
should be
feel
a
screwed.
neutral.
If you're not going to put it in a neutral, at least start this game 7-3. That's what the last score was.
Ooh. I mean, the Bengals came out firing before the DeMar Hamlin injury. Like they looked really sharp. I don't know. I'm going to take the Bengals plus 5.5. It's like I feel like it's just like going down with the ship. But yeah, I don't know. I think they're going to come in with the chip on their shoulder. Burrow, like I'm not betting against Joe Burrow in the playoffs in any must-win game. And the chips are down, regardless of what kind of offensive line he's got with those weapons. And like he is an ice cold killer, man. I'm not fading Joe Burrow. That's your guy, Pete.
Because Josh Allen hasn't been good in the postseason in the last couple of years.
I mean, he's been good.
But does he have 3 touchdown passes in each of the last, at least in each of the
He didn't look very good after that early 17-0 start. I'll tell you that much against Miami. A little sloppy.
The shot he threw to the end zone for the touchdown to Gabe Davis wasn't a hell of a throw.
That was a hell of a throw. He's an elite talent. The four quarterbacks left in the AFC are absolutely ridiculous.
Well, all high first-round picks, right?
Yep.
And you go to the NFC, and the only first-round pick is Daniel Jones.
That's pretty good. I hadn't realized that.
If Brian Daboll was still the OC in Buffalo would win the Super Bowl.
I would agree with that. How about okay? By the way, speaking of OCs, two quick notes. Ken Dorsey, Bills OC, interviewed for the head coaching job in Carolina. I don't think maybe a little early for that, right?
Probably a little early.
Early, but people see the success of Daboll, and they just want to kind of cookie cutter that success onto their own franchise.
And Dorsey was a quarterback coach in Carolina before too. So
for Buffalo to win the Super Bowl, 2 things have to happen. They got to be better rushing the passer. Last week was disappointing, and I know they don't have Von Miller, but they've used a lot of draft capital and money on that front. They got to be better doing that. And Spencer Brown's got to quit being the old-time spinning top at right tackle. He stinks.
I would agree with that. By the way, one more quick note on OCs, just because we're doing the best bet show, and then there's no Thursday Night Football, so that's it for the podcast this week. Greg Roman out as Ravens OC. I believe that it's one of those where he is technically stepping away. Double check that. Which I'm not sure that I necessarily believe that. You know what I'm saying?
When does
he's resigning? He's resigning.
Yeah, sure, with a foot in his ass. When is when is
and Byron Leftwich out too.
Yeah, we knew that. When is Lamar getting that tells you that they might be thinking about getting rid of Lamar.
That was sort of where I was going with that. And I don't want to linger on it too much, but I mean, Greg Roman was brought into and designed an offense specifically for Lamar Jackson. What would, just curious, Pete, like the 2-minute version, what would you do with Lamar Jackson this offseason? Not exclusive franchise tag, and see if anybody.
If somebody wants to give me 2 1s and a player and something else, I would do that, but I don't want to. But sure. He's become a little bit of a problem for the organization, I think. And look, they ain't giving him fully guaranteed contract. Nobody else is going to do that anymore. That was a one-off, and everybody in the league is angry about it. They've offered him to make him. They offered him more than Wilson and everybody else after that. They're just not going to give him the guaranteed money. And he said, no. What are you going to do for a guy who doesn't finish seasons? I mean, it's a tough negotiation. So you're damned if you do. Again, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. But if somebody wants to give me 2 1s, and okay, here's one. If you were Chicago, would you trade the 1 and Fields for Lamar?
I don't know.
I would not.
I would not.
Would you trade 1 Fields for Lamar and another 1?
Probably not. I don't want to trade for Lamar and give him a ton of money when I have Fields.
That's what you're going to have to do
on a cheaper deal.
Well, I'm with you. I would do.
I like the Fields asset better than the Jackson asset, just because it's easier to build a winner around that type of asset over the next couple of years.
So where does Lamar end up? Who wants Lamar?
I think the move is you put the non-exclusive franchise tag on him,
and hope somebody signs him, and you get your 2 1s back for him.
Well, and what happens is, I mean, surely like somebody's going to make him an offer. You're going to get like an offer sheet if you do that. Now I don't know the answer to that. I think I know the answer to this, but I'm not 100% sure. If let's say the Jets come and make I'll give Lamar an offer sheet. He doesn't have to. It's up to him to sign it, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? If he's like, no, I will not sign that contract, then
right.
But then there's no match. Like then the whole thing, you know what I'm saying? Like that's correct.
They can say, hey, we're going to give you an offer sheet. If he doesn't sign it, there's no offer sheet.
Right, but if I'm the Ravens, what I'm doing is I'm using that opportunity to show Lamar what the market is for his contractual services, because nobody's going to come in and be like, we'll give you 7 years fully guaranteed like Deshaun Watson.
Would you give him the Russell Wilson / Kyler Murray deals? Or you would give him those deals for sure.
Yeah, sure.
Well, okay, he hasn't accepted those. They've offered him that.
There are some desperate teams in QB purgatory, and for a former MVP that is still pretty young, I mean, I think somebody would.
David Tepper might make a mistake for that one. That's true.
Oh, okay.
Not that he's worth
Lamar
it,
Jackson goes to Carolina. Are they the Super Bowl team?
No.
They're going to win that division, but
it immediately would be the best team in that division by a pretty wide margin.
And you're also gonna, if you trade assets like RJ just said, you're gonna have to trade and pay. That's never a good thing.
Especially when one of those assets is Fields. My key thing is I would rather have a talented guy who's probably has some upside as a passer, needs to be developed a little bit more, but has that contract locked in. That's the contract you want, is those young quarterbacks.
I'm with you.
So why trade one for Lamar?
I wouldn't trade him. I wouldn't trade Fields for him.
I agree. I think it may come down to Lamar realizing that you're just going to have to take that Deshaun Watson deal is going to be a one-off. These NFL owners are digging in their heels, and even guys like Burrow and Herbert, who are up for contracts, are not going to be able to get that deal because these owners are adamant that they do not want these fully guaranteed long-term contracts. All right, one more game left. Oh, sorry, go ahead if you want.
You got it. By the way, RJ, one thing, the MVP thing, you got to get that. I mean, like, okay, he's an MVP. Would you trade Lamar Jackson for Trevor Lawrence?
No.
Right.
You wouldn't trade Trevor Lawrence for Lamar Jackson, you mean?
But the Jags aren't in quarterback purgatory. They have their guy.
No,
I'm talking about these desperate teams.
I know, but I'm saying, I just think that you'd have to change your entire dynamic of your offense if you trade for him.
Yeah.
What?
Any team that doesn't have an MVP quarterback should trade for Lamar because he makes them better. I'm saying teams that have struggled at quarterback for a long time and want a guy is going to see a younger guy that has an MVP and be like, that's the guy that can make us relevant again.
And what's interesting too, by the way, just last thing on Lamar is that people are like connecting him to the Patriots. Bill Belichick took Sony Michel over Lamar Jackson, and anybody who thinks that Sean Payton might land with the team and then go after Lamar, he traded up into the spot where Lamar was and took Marcus Davenport. So I don't know.
And that's not a Sean Payton quarterback. He's not going to. That's why I think the whole Arizona and Kyler Murray thing with him would be weird too.
He's just trying to drum up enough attention to get Brandon Staley fired. It didn't work. So you have to wait one more year. Dallas Cowboys at the 49ers, the final game of the week. Man, I tell you what, this game right here, gonna make or break my playoffs, boys. Did a bunch of best ball drafts, playoff drafts in Underdog. 49 through in the gauntlet one. I got 76 teams through in the mitten. Max, you maxed it at 150. I think I did like 110. How about that? 76 out of 110. Not too shabby.
What does that mean?
We don't want me to explain it to you. Niners -4 over under 4. I just have a bunch of Niners and Cowboys on the team. Niners -4 over under 46, Pete.
I'm on the Cowboys. And I think after this game, they'll be saying, how about them Cowboys again? Because I think they're going to win the game outright. I look, Brock Purdy's a hell of a story. He really is. Been a hell of a story. He's played one defense that's top 10. That was Washington. The rest of them are all in the high 20s, except for Tampa, which was 16 at the time. High 20s in points allowed, 30s, Raiders, Cardinals, Seahawks twice. They're bad defenses. This is not a bad defense. This is a good defense. And I know they've had run defense struggles at times, but Hankins is back, and that's important to them. I think they're going to be able to get after him a little bit and force some turnovers. I don't think this is going to be the clean game that you've come to expect from Brock Purdy. Now, the 49ers make it easy. Kyle Shanahan's arguably the best play caller in the league. The other side, I think the Dallas offensive line, big, physical, strong, powerful, can match up with them. And they got veterans on that right. That right side is nasty. When you get the two veterans over there, both of them been all pros in their career and still can play at a high level. The rookie's playing well. I think Dak Prescott exercised some demons, and I think this is a big Pollard game. I think he's going to get into space and create some problems. The Niners are not great on the back end. For all the if you can block them, you can beat them, and I think that's going to be obviously that's the key there. And I think they're going to have a good chance to block them. So I'm going to take the Cowboys. I'll take the points. I don't think you're going to need the points. I think Cowboys win the game.
I am on the other side. I have the 49ers as the best bet. I mean, I understand Dallas has only lost in regulation since week 6. It was the ugly week 18 game at Washington, and we read too much into that, obviously, because they went into Tampa Bay and dominated, especially on offense. 4 straight 80-plus yard touchdown drives in that game against what had been a solid Tampa defense. But Tampa's defense doesn't create turnovers either. They're just 26th in interception rate, where San Francisco's 3rd. So if we get the shaky Dak Prescott we had down the stretch when he was throwing interceptions every game, that's going to let San Francisco get ahead in this game and then do what they want to do offensively. San Francisco 2nd in rush yards per play on defense. That will put Dak in tough third down positions where he's going to have to execute. If he's at his best like he was last week, he could do that. But it seems like such a tough matchup for me that I don't think the strong Dallas offense shows up in this one, and San Francisco is able to do what they want to do on the offensive side of the ball because their defense is playing well. I think the San Francisco offense will be able to run on the Dallas defense, and the offensive line is good enough to keep pressure at bay, despite what you're saying. I know they have the coaching edge, and they have a better chance. And I think they have a better chance of executing the offense they want to execute. So I think San Francisco's going to win this game. I don't think that Brock Purdy is going to be a Super Bowl winner, much to my chagrin, because I have him at 20-1 to win the Super Bowl from the preseason. But I think I don't think the Cowboys are quite good enough to hang in this game. And then we'll see what happens next week when the 49ers have to play one of the top tier teams in the league, probably.
Yeah, I mean, that stat about having not lost in regulation outside of week 18 since week 6, I don't think I realized that. They lost 2 games in overtime at Green Bay in week 10 and then at Jacksonville in week 15, a horrific collapse there. You look at the games they played. I mean, they played the Lions before the Lions got good. They played the Bears, lost to the Packers, Vikings, who they just absolutely smoked in Minnesota, Giants, Colts, Texans, lost to the Jaguars, Eagles without Jalen Hurts, Titans, banged up Titans team.
Go through the Niners now. Go through the Niners now.
Okay. They beat the 85 Bears, the 76 Steelers. Yeah. In their winning streak, they beat the Rams, Chargers, at the Cardinals, Saints, Dolphins, Bucks,
Dolphins
Seahawks.
When Tua got hurt, right?
Yeah. Look, both teams on a good little run here. Neither one has played any super teams. I just think the Niners are tougher up front on both sides of the ball. I like San Francisco to win the game. I like the over in this spot. I think we see a bunch of points scored. If Dak plays remotely close to that, and he played awesome last week. Like, credit where credit's due. He came in and looked exceptional in those drives. Tampa Bay's defense looked, average would be polite to describe it. Tampa Bay looked awful in that game. Dallas controlled it. I'm with RJ, though. I don't think they can do the same thing. I'll take the over as the best bet. I've also got 2 props. Christian McCaffrey, over under rush and receiving yards, 105.5. They just get him involved. I think he gets over 106 total scrimmage yards. I like the over in that spot. And I'll take Deebo Samuel anytime touchdown plus 106 as a best bet.
By the way, if the Cowboys should make sure Parsons rushes off the left side the entire game, because if you put him on the right side, he's going to go
the
get
left
Trent
side of the
Williams.
defense, obviously.
Yeah, the left side of the defense.
You don't match him up against Trent Williams.
Because RJ, you mentioned their offensive line. I think their offensive line, Trent Williams is great. The rest of the offensive line is just okay. They're not great on the end. McClinchy's had moments where he's been bad. The rookie right guard has had moments where he's been bad. The center is just okay. They're just okay. They're not a great offensive line. Williams is great.
Prisco, Colin.
What about the other offensive line?
Average.
The other offensive line?
Yeah. What if San Francisco take advantage of the injuries that Dallas has had to deal with? Isn't that Dallas's offensive line also a little bit shaky?
Yeah. The question is Peters. What's his status going to be? Look. The rookie left tackle has been great when he's played. He's been outstanding. I remind Ryan Wilson.
Jalen Peters did not practice on Thursday.
Yeah, then you'll have to play. That's where they get weak, is when the left guard has to play. If Peters doesn't play left tackle and Smith doesn't play left guard, then that weakens you at left guard because you got to play the other kid. So I think that's a problem for him.
No Peters would be a pretty big loss for them. I like the Niners to win the cover, but I'm going to take the over as a spot. If 49ers get up and get a lead, they can run the football effectively, and you'll see Dallas forced to throw. I think Dallas can score. You attack the Niners through the pass, through the air. Should be able to do that fairly decently. Love the over in this spot. All right. What we got? 7 games left this season? Crazy.
It's amazing how fast it goes.
Pete, somebody in the chat said Lamar Jackson is the worst MVP in history. Can you remind him who the MVP was in 1982?
The Redskins. Washington's kicker. Oh, I did it. I had done it like 2 years.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. Mark Mosley,
the Washington's kicker that year. Easily
MVP
the worst
kicker.
MVP. Strikes are in
can you
season.
imagine?
Brinson, you said Redskins earlier this year. What are you talking about?
You can't.
By the
find
way,
that.
after he won the award, they should have taken all the voters who voted him winner of that award and never let him vote ever again. Can't ever give it to a kicker. I don't care if a kicker made 65 out of 65 field goals and made 12 from 50 yards or more. I'm not picking a kicker ever.
Was it the media members like teaming up with the?
I don't remember how they voted back then.
Sure, you don't.
It was he had 35 votes. Dan Fouts had 33.
That's so ridiculous. It feels like Dan Fouts should be given that retroactively.
It was a joke. It wasn't even like he had that great a year either. If I remember, like compared to like modern day kickers, when you look at his numbers, go look at them. I don't think they were that great.
Yeah, 20 of 21 on field goals, 16 of 19 on extra points.
Right,
16 of 19. Who's voting for that? What's wrong with you people? That is the writers teaming up with the owners to knock down the players for the strike. That's what that's doing.
No attempts of 50 yards.
Yeah,
that's so
MVP.
Weird. Yeah, it's conspiracy, collusion. All right,
I wasn't voting back then. By the way, I can tell you that 100%.
I assume you voted for Mahomes for MVP. I guess you're not supposed to say it, so don't worry.
I'm not supposed to say, but I mean,
you're not the one guy. You're not the one guy who left him off your first team all pro ballot. Is what you're saying?
No, I'm not.
There you go. That'll work. All right, are we gonna toss these best bets up, Billy? Pete's got to get out of here. I don't know what you got to do. Something.
Got to go to the office.
Okay. All right, we're not gonna put them up. I'll just try to read them. Actually, you know what? You don't need to. All right, here we go. RJ's best bets. I don't have that many best bets. What's wrong with me? RJ, Pete has the Jaguars and the Jaguars over, the Giants, the Bengals, and the Cowboys against
Dogs are barking, baby.
Dogs. Ow, ow. RJ's got the Chiefs minus 8.5, 49ers minus 4, a teaser with KC and Philly. Mahomes over 2.5 passing touchdowns, and Daniel Jones over 4.5 rushing yards. I love both of those props.
45.5.
What's that?
I mean,
You said
could-
4.5, 45.5.
45 and a
You
half,
could
sorry.
put your mortgage on him having over 4.5.
Oh, did I say 4.5? My bad.
Yeah.
If it was 4.5, it was in college, you have to worry about it because the sacks count.
That's
I've got 72 best bets here. Chiefs minus 8.5. Chiefs and Eagles teaser. Jared McKinnon. Take Jared McKinnon rush yards off because that's too juicy. Sorry. And you have the teaser on there twice actually. AJ Brown anytime touchdown minus 102. Miles Sanders over rushing yards 66.5. Bengals plus 5.5. I would bet the Jared McKinnon rush yards over, by the way, but it's outside the scope. Niners Cowboys over 46 and Debo anytime touchdown plus 106 and Christian McCaffrey over rushing and receiving yards 105.5. That's it for the best bets show for the divisional round. We'll have 2 more of these left. One of them will be in Arizona.
That's right.
We're gonna have some pizza in Arizona. The best pizza in America.
Where's the best pizza? Oh, that's right.
Pizzeria Bianca.
Yeah.
I told
It was
somebody
good.
the other day, they're like, listen, I'm from New York. Don't ever say that again. It's like,
Yeah, no, it was good. It's just not the best pizza in America. But
right.
that's when I made my declaration about art.
It's across from an art museum, and Pete goes, Pete, we're sitting there eating pizza, and Pete looks over this museum, he looks back at the table, and goes, I hate art. We won't tell the rest of what the quote that you said, but it involves you making a painting with some
Right.
less than scrupulous materials. All right, that'll do it for us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For RJ, for Pete, I'm Brinson. We'll see you guys later.